If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I am Necrotic Nick.
And I am Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So we were looking for something different to review, and we came across a new release from the band Convocation with their album Ashes Coalesce. This album comes out on the 3rd of July on Everlasting Spew Records. Great record label, definitely check it out. This is a death doom / funeral doom band from Helsinki, Finland, formed in 2013. Now this is only their second full length, and this band is only comprised of 2 members. And we really didn't get any names. There are just initials. So there is LL, who is the multi-instrumentalist that wrote all of this. And he is also the guy behind the death metal band Desolate Shrine. And they have MN on vocals, who gives one of the most tortured performances I've heard on a funeral doom album.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard anything like that in music. I saw it on Faces of Death as a kid on the internet. But man.
So, since this album is only 4 tracks long, but granted it is 45 minutes long, we're going to do kind of a track-by-track, mainly because I'm pretty sure there is some sort of narrative to this. I'm not sure what it was in between all the tortured screams and dissonant, horrifying atmosphere.
Dude.
We're going to go on a bit of a journey here.
Yeah, which we went on. That took me somewhere.
So, this album opens up with Martyr Eyes, and this is very much straightforward funeral doom / death doom. I think this one actually has a few more up-tempo moments that actually make it a little bit more death doom, but overall the production on here is layered as hell. Like, there is not a real moment to really catch yourself and just think. It's just always something in the background.
Yeah, and you know what, for a second too, when it first started, I thought this is a little overproduced, but as it goes through the album, it makes sense about why it has that real rich, full sound. Because normally when you think doom metal or, death doom, you think just murk.
It definitely sounds similar to bands like Esoteric or Hooded Menace or Ahab, but there is a giant gothic quality behind all this. Like, it took me a little while to hear it, but there are some parts that remind me of, like, Opeth at their slowest and darkest and dingiest. Mainly because you can hear a Hammond organ being played in the background, and this layers a lot of interesting keys. And they're not just, like, straightforward, like, keyboards. They're ambient melodies throughout the entire song, and then choirs, and this is all about atmosphere.
Yeah, it really builds this horror-esque mindset. Throughout, 9 minutes of this song, it's straightforward, like, death growls. You don't hear any of the screams until you get to about 9 minutes, and then it's just this blood-curdling scream. Like
screaming from the bottom of a well that this gentleman was thrown down.
Yeah.
It's very just depressive as hell. Like, these guys really capture that bleak hopelessness, like very much like My Dying Bride, which, they pretty much refined depression to an art form. These guys are well on their way. Now, this one actually brings in some cool chuggy, riffy parts in here. When it comes down to riffs, though, in terms of, like, more constructed ones, it isn't so much that, it's mostly just these giant single tones that pretty much in that one tone capture a mood. And the mood on this is mostly depressive, but it takes some interesting turns.
Like Nick said about there being a narrative, I'm pretty sure that at this point it is now starting to paint a picture. Like, the first song gave you that kind of feeling that something's not right.
The setting.
And then here, it just, no filler, but instead on the intro, no filler on the intro. By the way, the intro in the last song sounded like a swarm of bees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, dissonance, ambience, haunting overall feel.
But this had no filler and instead went into, like, this slow, doomy, almost sludge riff.
This is the most flat-out funeral doom song on here.
Yeah.
Like, I swear, you really can't get past this overall dirgy feeling. And a thing about this album is, in a strange way, it's almost visual. Like, you can actually see settings that fit this music. Like, carrying a body in a coffin in the rain and the mud.
Yep.
Everyone weeping.
Or tied to a chair getting your toenails ripped off. Predominantly, this song is very melodic, and has a great use of instrumentation. Like, there's not only guitars, but like that one part where I thought it sounded like church bells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's the thing with the atmosphere here. Like, there isn't a moment on this album that isn't drenched in atmosphere just to remind you of that setting. And a cool thing in Funeral Doom that I like is that they use single tones that are accented, because, you know, Funeral Doom drummers, generally you're just doing a lot of slow work, but it's how you actually implement that with accents, like
Correct.
a big floor tom hit, an accented hit on the, like a hi-hat or a crash or something like that, just to give that next, you know, single note or chord, mostly single notes, an extra impact. Now this one really got epic towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was maybe the most hopeful moment in terms of the tone, but not very. It brings in some really lush harmonies. Definitely reminded me a lot of Hooded Menace. And the keys in the background just pretty much just layer this beautifully.
I thought they had like a kind of like a New Orleans sound to them. They had kind of that...
A little bit of that sludge?
Yeah, a little bit of that sludgy organ. Kind of like something you'd find in like Mystic Crew, the Clearlight. At about 5 minutes and 30 seconds, though, it sounds like a much slower Nile. It gets really evil, heavy.
It's one of the few moments in here I would say are flat out chuggy. Like, this was like a legit Death Doom moment on here. But the way it shifts into the next part with the chanted clean vocals, which caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting any clean vocals, considering the vocalists seemed to be channeling Satan most of the time. All of a sudden these gothic cleans come in, and I swear they were sang by actual ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, it's haunting.
It's really creepy. I made a couple jokes, like go in the bathroom and turn off all the lights and stare directly into the mirror and listen to this album in the dark. I'm pretty sure something would happen from a negative standpoint.
While the song is called The Absence of Grief, I think they misspelled abundance.
Of grief.
Yes. Because it is just a massive song. It is the longest song on here, at 13 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe. And there is no shining hope in any of this, really. Even that more epic melody, it's not necessarily hope. It is still so depressive, but God, they do it so well.
Well, that part after the gothic kind of choir thing, everything cut out, and it was just ambient tones on a guitar. Sounded kind of like the filler moments in Meshuggah's Catch 33.
Yeah, the biggest tonal shift on this album is the song Misery Form, the third track. This went from, you know, the dark, depressive Funeral Doom, Death Doom to flat-out horror vibes.
Yeah.
This is tonally haunting.
I don't think there's much by way of words in the vocals. It's almost all just blood-curdling, tortured screams.
Backed by, like, heavy single notes again.
Yeah. There is that huge, like, Morbid Angel sludge part in there that's pretty nasty.
It's like the slowest, sludgiest riff Morbid Angel never wrote. But the thing about this is, I just loved how they changed the tone on here. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't all about the depressive nature of Funeral Doom. This was about horror. Like, this sounds legit disturbing.
Yes. That one time where it has, like, the ascending chorus goes like, and it's really creepy.
Again, I think the choirs were actual ghosts that they conjured up in the studio.
This is where they open the portal to hell.
Yes. Very irresponsible. Now, this is where, like, kind of a big visual thing came for me. I actually could see the whole Fantasia segment, Night on Bald Mountain, the one with, you know, Chernobog on the mountain, summoning all the demons and everything. Take that whole scene, slow it down, and you play this track behind it, and it would fit entirely too well. Like, this is such a creepy song.
I think if they would have put that instrumentation, if they would have put this track behind a Disney film, I think you'd be talking years of therapy.
I might need therapy myself after listening to this.
This definitely plays so well on really, really painting a picture and dragging out imaging.
But this album didn't drag, really, at any point. I was thoroughly engaged in everything this album was doing. Like, this was really, again, painting a picture, creating a mood that was just so oppressive, and then shifting to terrifying.
I remember when we got into the first track, and we were about 4 minutes through, and I was like, well, this is cool, but if it continues at this rate, it's going to get boring. right about the time I thought that it got more entertaining. They do such a great job. It's all about vocal layering. I would love to say it's melody, but a lot of this album and how it's presented is because of the vocals.
Yes, the vocals definitely help set the mood even further than the music. I mean, the music definitely is oppressive and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but these vocals are absolutely tortured.
So then we get to the last track. You remember in the last track they opened the portal. Well, thankfully in this track they closed the portal.
Because it's called Portal Close.
Yeah,
and that was
Portal
the
Close.
responsible thing to do. You shouldn't have opened it in the first place. My house is fucking haunted now.
In the very beginning when the guitars hit, it appears to have like a lifting moment to it, and then right away defeat occurs.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as that progression ascends, it comes right back down. And yeah, the whole feel of this song is just defeat. Like you're crawling through the mud after
a battle, and
you lost.
Yeah, you have to crawl over all your loved ones. Like you're the last person alive, and you're like, all right, what now?
And honestly, like, while I was listening to this, I was like, dude, this opening could not get any sadder. And then it does. The keys start coming up, and they actually sound kind of like weeping choirs amongst the dissonance. And they add a guitar harmony to it, which, when they bring in some guitar harmonies, again, they become the most sullen moment on these songs. And then everything starts cutting out. Like, you have different isolated moments. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of helps with the isolation. Again, you are alone. You are fucking beaten. And this is where it kind of also shifts in terms of tone to something I almost thought sounded more sci-fi-ish. The keys really take over. There's definitely like a little bit of like ambient guitar in there.
Yeah.
But honestly, it kind of reminded me of Blade Runner, which is probably the most referenced movie we bring up on here. Right. But it kind of had those like lush synths and definitely different than Misery Form, 100%. Again, it captured kind of a depressive mood in a different way with these more layered synths. Then you get isolated guitars.
Like, what a horrible way to end a movie.
Yeah.
Like,
bad guys won, you lost.
Right. It's like the final scene, you just hear the gunshot and the blood just go...
This song is the end of The Mist. If you've never seen that movie, it is the single most depressing ending out there, I think. But that's pretty much how it ends, with this isolated guitar that slowly fades out, and I guess you're dead. And, man, the mood is just pretty much set there. Like, you're pretty much sitting back, much like us, wondering, wow, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, what did I just listen to? The good thing about this, though, is I don't think it's going to be forgettable. I think you're going to jam this album, and it's going to stick with you. Like, you remember that album we listened to? Remember Convocation? Man, dude, I felt bad. I felt sad for, like, a week.
So, overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. In terms of, like, raw emotion and, like, depressive music, I haven't heard anything quite like this in a while, and I own a lot of Esoteric. I own a lot of Ahab. And while they're great at capturing that giant funeral doom sound, these guys capture that, plus this horror-filled torture. Like, hope is completely gone on this album, and if that's what you were going for, guys, you accomplished it.
Yes, very well done. I also gave it 4 stars. Again, it's not so much for the music this time around, it's for the moments that were created, for the visual pictures, the emotion that I felt, because again, it was like watching a guy go into battle and just lose. Get his ass kicked, get his whole family killed, like all he's got left is a gun with 1 bullet in it, and like, what do I do? It's that. It made me think and picture and imagine, and that's why I give it 4 stars. It's almost like rating a movie at this point.
I feel like I've watched, well, it'd be a short film technically, but it had an impact.
Yeah.
It was a wild listen/watch. I don't know, I felt like I did watch a movie.
Yeah.
So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe. We also have a CD giveaway going on right now. Once we get to 2,000 subs, we are going to give away a stack of 5 CDs. There should be a video that plays as soon as you go on our YouTube channel. That'll give you all the particulars.
And I believe we're like 34 subs shy of 2,000. Additionally, again, we have Instagram, and in a day or two, the next episode of What's John Jamming is going to be out. Got 10 new killer bands. I'm gonna do it again after this, of course. Continue it as much as humanly possible. So, if you are a band unsigned or underground and just want a push, send us your album and I'll review it and put it on a segment. A couple bands now have sent us merchandise. I think Nick's gonna throw the CDs again in a collection update, so we'll keep you moving too.
So with that, thank you guys very much for watching, and we will catch you later.
Bye.